guys?
Good.
Fantastic.
Good.
That's great. That's great. Oh my gosh. I'm in America, so I know this is huge in the UK and it already aired. But for me, it was like brand new experience. And I saw this and was completely blown away. I've never seen such a show like this on TV before, where this is, yes, it's reverse racism, but to see also this African culture being celebrated, and it's the little tiny details that you don't even notice, like the statues and the languages. So I was wondering, this is an adaptation from a very popular book series. When you got the role, did you feel any kind of pressure to live up to these characters that people have already known for so many years?
100 million%, man. 100 million%. I mean, even from early days though, like reading the book, it's such a great part and such a great story that you just want to be part of it. You want to do well. You want to do well at it anyway. But it was really funny because I hadn't actually read the book before auditioning or anything. I only actually read the book once I got the part. But when I told people that, I landed Callum in Noughts Crosses, like so many people did know what it was, especially like an older generation. It was very much an older generation. And also in schools over here in the UK, it's taught in English literature. And it's sort of, it's what's the word? Like in drama, they use it as text and they use it as sort of, they devise pieces around it. So I didn't actually realize how powerful it was. So I was like, damn, the pressure is on, but it's fueling pressure. Do you know what I mean? It's good pressure. It makes you want to do well.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yes, everything that Jack said,
Yeah.
Wow. So my thing is, this whole series is about reverse racism. And even from the very opening scene where we see with the police brutality, and that's huge here in America, and to see that kind of act out, but to see it with different different races and stuff. I was wondering, as a white actor, and you as an African actress, was there a moment where you had to, for you, kind of trek your privilege and for you to kind of see the world in, I would say, different eyes?
Totally.
Yeah,
that was a big, yeah, totally. And it was also like really humbling experience, like me, I've grown up in London, England. Like I literally live in central London. Like I live 5 minutes away from Big Ben. So I've constantly been surrounded by culture my whole life. So I've kind of never really experienced it in front of me. But on top of that, I'm also a white male from London. So I've never actually been put in a situation. It's subconscious. I don't even think about it, but I've never been put in a situation before where I am the other. Do you know what I mean? Where I am the odd one out. And there was a big experience before we started filming, where I did like army training, and like I was like the only Nought cadet. So it was me and a load of like South African boys, and we're there like doing African war chants, and I'm going, damn, like what an experience even to look around and feel like the odd one out, and it's nothing I can, people would hear my accent and they would look at my skin tone and just sort of, they'd wonder who I am and why am I here? Because this was not even when we were filming. This was an exercise I did in private, like away from the cast, away from the crew. And, it was that natural thing of, I can't change what's here, but as soon as you ask me a question or as soon as we chat, we're going to get on. It's a given. And that was as the days went on, these boys just started chatting to me and we'd have a nice dialogue, and that's what it was about, pure love. But as you say, I had to check my privilege, and I've said that many a times in, interviews I've done in the UK. It's very humbling, and it's an experience that I'll take forward. An experience I didn't have before doing this project, so incredibly grateful.
Yeah, and for me, I feel like, I've lived my whole life as a Black woman, so I've experienced, racism firsthand, and, all its different levels that it comes in. And I think for me, stepping onto set every day was was crazy. I couldn't believe that this was a show that we're making, and that, that we're here in society to have this show being made right now. So it was a very pinch me moment, kind of, to be like, oh, we're imagining a world where, Africans, were not oppressed, and where Africans were not, taken advantage of. So that was quite a moment for me every day on set. And I think, in relation to the police brutality, I think it's, it was very, people that I've spoken to that have watched the show, they say it's so, like, it's, such a good show, but you always have to remind yourself that this is not, the world that we live in today, and that the whole point of the show is that it's to show how, people are treated through oppression, through the switching of the races. So yeah, I think that this show is going to be quite powerful for Black people to see themselves in this light of like excellence, and this light of like, you are wonderful, which we already are. So yeah.
And just to just to add to that, like, and the opposite for so like for white people to watch it and actually see someone, like, actually relate, because sometimes let's say a white person would watch a show about racism and they struggle to connect, but whereas in this show it's like, no, let's say someone that has never ever experienced it before, they're looking at a screen and they're going, oh, this person looks like me, looks similar to me, so, and it's happening to them, and it hopefully by that unique twist it can make them go, wait, that happens, this police brutality. But because even though it is an alternative universe, our first scene that exists in reverse very much, as we've seen recently.
Now, if you both could sit down with your characters as yourself, what advice would you give each other, or your character?
Oh wow, such a good question. I think I'd tell Sephy to, I mean, she really does it in the show, but it's to not look at life only through what you have experienced, and to understand that other people live a life that's worse than yours, and other people are oppressed because of the actions, of people that came before you, and that it is your responsibility to help make it easier for future generations to come. Yeah, and I tell her, fall in love, girl. You're gonna get your heart broken, but fall in love. You're gonna learn a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, same. I'd tell Callum to just keep going, man. You know what I mean? Keep going, keep loving, and keep living. And there's a line that my mum says to me in the, like, maybe episode 4, I don't know, can't remember, but she says, please, Callum, just don't hate. Don't let what you experience turn to hate. Just keep going, because Callum he was one of 4 Noughts cadets to go into a cross military. Next year, it could be 8. The year after that, it could be 10, it could be 12. And then before you know it, we have a mixed army. So I'll just say, Callum, just keep going and keep striving forward, even though it's going to be painful and it might hurt. Just know you're doing it for the bigger picture.
Right. Now, ultimately, this is a story about love, and about love conquering everything. Do you feel that it's kind of taught you anything about your life, like, and learned anything from filming the show?
Well, one thing to pick up on, it's in episode 1 with the plaster. I always loved that moment. When I read the book, I fell in love with that moment. So yeah, even something as small as plasters, it made me think about that, and how I look back in school when I was growing up. And if someone told me what is a plaster, I'd say that's a plaster. That's a plaster. But not actually thinking that these plasters suit a more Caucasian skin tone. So I was thinking, wow, like, even in something so small, maybe someone who wasn't Caucasian might grow up and feel alienated by that. If they get a cut on their eyebrow, let's say, somewhere where they can't hide, and it's kind of a plaster, which is the opposite to their skin tone, and therefore making it stand out even more. And you know what's really funny, right? This does link, but I'm going to go on a little tangent. But I watched Twilight, yeah? I watched Twilight for the first time ever the other day, yeah? And there is a scene where the black guy has a cut on his head. There's a point where I can't remember what happens to him, but he has a white plaster on his head. And I was like, boom. I was like, why couldn't they have a black plaster? And it just made, that was something which made me think about, because I still, to this day, I can't see like plasters for skin tones. You know what I mean? I'm sure they exist, but they're certainly not, they need to get good PR on it if it exists. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think what I learned from the show, and I think, it actually comes at the end of the trailer where Callum goes to Sephy, there's only so much I can do. And Sephy says, okay, so then do that much. And I think, a big takeaway that I've taken from the show is that your actions towards, dismantling racism and casteism, it doesn't have to be huge, but it can be something that, that affects the community around you. So you can do whatever you can do it. You know what I mean? Don't be scared by the magnitude of the situation. Just do whatever you can do.
And lastly, if there's a season 2, what would you, if he was writing the scripts, what would you like to see for your characters, for your kind of relationship?
Wow. So to those who have read the book, to those who have read the novel of Noughts Crosses, those who know, I want that to happen to Callum. There's a point in the book, the book is very much narrated by both characters, and the last page of Callum, I want that to happen. And those who know. And Masali knows, and I'm sure.
Yeah. Same. I want to get to the end of the first book. I think that would be phenomenal. Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for speaking with me.
Cheers, Dana. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dana. So you're just going to hit leave room, and then you're going to hit leave breakout room.